there's a little thought that came to my mind earlier today, and I thought maybe I should start a series or whatever note comes to mind on the spot. Maybe I'll make a little video about that. Today's little note that I've written down is, at what point does she stop scrutinizing with tests? And I thought about this with any of my own romantic interests, and I thought about this with myself. The moment she stops scrutinizing with tests. What are tests? It's like when you're jabbing at someone. You're testing to see if this real person is real. Are they fair dinkum? Or is it just fake? Is it BS? The moment she stops scrutinizing her romantic interest, primarily with tests, she'll never really stop doing this, because it's something that we all do. The moment we stop scrutinizing for a particular test, though, is the moment she collapses, or there's another word for this, the moment she caves in. And how do I mean by that? Like, kind of like if you're trying to make up your mind about something and you've got this scale system that you're evaluating whether this thing is to go or to leave behind, to put aside. When you kind of want something more and more and more, that's when you cave in. So earlier today I made a video talking about, if you were in a violent, abusive relationship in the past, and as the guy who might have been the wife beater, you might be wondering, well, at what point is she ever going to come back? Well, the thing that determines her collapsing or caving in, and I don't mean in an oppressive manner, I mean just in general, in the process of decision making, is the scale system. When one pain becomes greater than another. So, for example, getting back into a relationship with your ex or former romantic interest, the pain of being away from you must be greater than the pain of being with you. Because if the pain of being with you is greater than the pain of being away from you, then by default, that person is going to leave or seek the means necessary to do so, to accomplish that. So basically, you just have to keep putting weights on the scale in reverse if you want the opposite outcome. And then as soon as the scales are tipped in that favor, that's when someone makes a decision. That's when someone collapses. Think about this when you're buying something, when you're thinking about buying something that you really want. Maybe you're holding back because it's too expensive. Maybe you're holding back, you're making up your mind about something, but then you just can't hold it in anymore. You're just like, I have to get it. Kind of like temptation. And that is the moment someone stops scrutinizing, they stop testing. As soon as they can figure out that this thing, obviously, isn't going to be causing them pain, so there's a gain and loss ratio, gain versus loss ratio, which is the similar thing as the pain versus pain ratio. And you're trying to see, how much do I have to gain and how much do I have to lose out of this thing? If you've got more to gain and not a lot to lose, then generally speaking, you're going to be more in favor of the thing that's in your favor. And it'd be kind of painful if you had to lose the gain. And that's how that works. Let's say you're trying to attract someone from scratch romantically, perhaps an already established romantic interest, who's hot and cold, situationship, perhaps seeing other people. How can, let's say, we attract our romantic interest to the point where she finally, or he finally collapses and caves into us? Well, we just keep on following the scale system. We keep on increasing the odds in our favor, but on an emotional level. It's not like a logical thing. It's a subconscious, emotional language. You could have a list of bullet points and reasons as to why you are the perfect person for that person we're thinking about. But relationships aren't a logical arrangement. There's logic in a realm somewhere, and it is a deal where the goods being exchanged, they're kind of different value, but they're swapped over, right? Perhaps not stereotypically, but perhaps a woman might offer sex, whereas a man might offer security, protection, things like this, just standard stuff. The main thing I want, let's say you're a dude, something extremely valuable, as a dude, you want as a bullet point would be emotional stability. Emotional stability. This is primarily one of the better ones because this is what you need when you're being tested, actually. And you could even use other words that we can look for it, such as being unfazed, unbothered, not really caring, not giving a fuck, but in a very constructive and positive and healthy manner. If you were the last, it's kind of the same story actually. You do want to be emotionally stable, same, so emotional stability, emotionally stable. That's attractive. In fact, you can't really proceed forward in the transaction in a constructive manner. When we say transaction in a relationship, unless you are already emotionally stable. People probably can't enter into relationships in this manner, but moving forward from that point in an emotionally unstable position is not going to work in your favor down the track. Having this established first is going to tip the scales in your favor for the long term. There is also the short term versus long term ratio, by the way. Versus long term. Short term versus long term, it's another type of ratio that we can throw into the pain versus pain ratio. Is this going to benefit me now in the short term or the long term? Is this going to, that's basically the question. And when you weigh all these different factors, at some point you're going to be collapsing. There's a decision is going to collapse. You're going to cave in. This is the moment a person kind of makes a decision. This is when they stop weighing the scales. They're like, okay, well, I've decided in that moment, based on the information that I have, this is the best way to go. Sometimes people make decisions without all the information. This is why information is actually power. Because the more information you typically have, then you're in a much better position to obviously make an informed decision, but also to know what the hell you're doing moving forward. I think there's a lot of relationship struggles because no one's typically really taught how to navigate our emotions. We're not really taught how to navigate relationships. We're just kind of winging it as we go along. And the same is true for entrepreneurship. People, we're just trying to figure out how to do things by ourselves. And being self-taught is actually a good thing if you're actually teaching yourself. That's what I'm doing here too. I'm just kind of teaching myself how to be a teacher and a coach and a mentor, leaning on experience, leaning on all the books I've been reading, trying to make sense of all the BS, making it so it's possible for us to get what we want. So, at what point does she stop scrutinizing us with tests? It's the moment she collapses and caves in. And all we have to do, we just try and make that easy for her, if we're a dude, right? Easy, but also not easy at the same time. We have to make, like, you can't just sit there all pretty as a dude, for example, and think, I have all these perfect bullet points. She should choose me. It's so easy, just pick me. Instead, we do want to be a challenge. She's not obligated to choose us. She's not obligated to go out of her way and make a decision that leans towards us. When I say make it easy, maybe even make it enticing. Make your offer, your deal, enticing. Make that delicious deal that you've got enticing. So that the person is reminiscing over it, the person wants it. And the more they think about it, the more easier it becomes to make the collapse happen. I think we're going to end it there because if I don't turn the camera off, I'm going to keep on going on and on and on and on. So there you go. I hope we learned something there. If you want her to collapse into your arms, you need to make your offer, your deal, enticing by putting the scales in your favor, by stacking up the scales thinking about the long term, the benefits, the emotional vibe, and understanding where we actually stand, where we're heading. Make that enticing.